and blessed to be part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Don't forget the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic going on now at Ann Morrison Park. Thanks to our friends at CapEd Credit Union. Check them out today. They love the teachers, and it shows. Do want to remind you as well, coming up a week from Friday, we will be at Independence Indoor Shooting once again, letting you shoot for free, encouraging you to shoot for free. We hope to see you there. And again, thanks to our friends at Independence Indoor Shooting, your proud Girls with Guns sponsor. Make sure you check those guys out today. Let's get to the phones. It's been a while. Our great friend Frank King, the comedian, joining us. Mr. King, good morning.
Kevin Miller, now let me see. Did I dream this, or didn't you work at WPTF once?
Morning guy at North Carolina's second oldest radio station.
Yeah, we protect the family, WPTF. This is Kevin Miller, the Round Mouth of Sound. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everybody.
You are correct. You are correct. You remember my time there hosting mornings and being the Round Mound of Sound. Fortunately, Frank, I still am the Round Mound of Sound, but yes.
That's okay, but I was actually on your show once. I can't remember what the topic was, whether it was comedy or anyway. Right. I was just back there, by the way, and everybody asked me, whatever happened to Kevin? Well, I said he's extremely successful in Boise.
He's left all of you
Alaska Airlines.
He's left all of you behind, yes.
Yeah, by the way, Alaska Airlines now has 2 nonstops to L.A., which I love Alaska, by the way. Oh, dear God.
Well,
they're the best.
You're fired up. I guess you're not on a cruise ship, but, the one thing, and I don't want to tip anybody off, but what I would like to do, and I'm going to hit this with you, is you and I need to partner together. We need to get you over here, and I know we've talked about this for years, and do a fundraiser for a significant charity, very similar to what we did in North Carolina, where we had you, Jerry Carroll, the Willow Springs Wildman, and others do a politics and comedy night. I haven't forgotten about that, so that is my goal to make that happen.
Yeah, the last time I did it, I think we did it at we used to be in Memorial Auditorium. We did 2 shows, raised a ton of money for the local. It was either the Raleigh Rescue Mission or one of those, and we raised a bunch of money. Home Voice for the homeless originally, but I guess homeless is not a politically correct term anymore. It's the unhoused. So
I remember that Home Voice for the homeless. Yes. Yeah,
I would love to come over and do it, especially. It is election season, even though it's still quite a ways away, but it is obviously election season. So I would love to come over and go toe to toe.
Well, that would. I don't know about toe to toe because I don't want to get beaten down in my own hometown now, Frank. But let's talk. Well, before we get to some serious issues which touch all of our hearts, let's talk about the body politic. My man Trump looks like he's going to roll to reelect. What do you think?
Well, the polls yesterday behind the top 5 Democratic candidates, including Kamala Harris, I believe, and so it doesn't bode well, at least as far as I can tell from the latest poll, showing. I think he's got some ground to make up between now and election day. What do you think?
Well, I think the polls would have had Hillary Clinton being elected already. And you as a communicator, throw out our disagreements on politics. How effective is Donald Trump reaching an audience?
Oh, well, the guy's, he has a certain, what's that movie, Taken? I have a certain set of skills. He has, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Liam Neeson? I have a certain set of skills. He has a certain set of skills. I think he's probably truly the first social media president because Twitter in particular allowed him to reach past all the media directly to the citizenry, which he continues to do to this day. Some of his supporters even think maybe a little over the top here and there, but it is extremely effective.
Right. And yet when he's on the shows, it drives people crazy, but people still love him.
Well, he's got a slice of the population that, they have been solid ever since day one. And that's, as a politician, I won't place one on TV. He plays to his base because he knows he needs all those people, and then to bring some other people around to get, my concern for him would be in some of the swing states, farmers, and I'm worried because farming comes down by about half, and farmers, by the way, are the top 4 occupations at risk, most at risk for suicide, and so I'm a little concerned about their safety in this economy, anyway.
Right. Frank King joining us, comedian, man of the world, social commentator. Let's talk a little bit about next month, where you have the awareness concerning suicide. Unfortunately, Frank, it seems to be more prevalent day in and day out. And from you, I don't know if you're in Eugene right now, but for us here in Idaho, here we live in some of the most prosperous times we've ever had. Technology has made our lives incredibly easier. The economy is rolling, and yet we are still suffering from this blight of suicide.
Yeah, it's and you know what it is. I was just at a big safety conference this past 3 days. 8 out of 10 people who die by suicide in the U.S. are men aged 45, 54, generally white men. And at the conference, it was large manufacturers, oil and gas, Chevron, Marathon, male heavy. And I spoke, of course, about suicide prevention as a workplace health and safety issue. There was a safety conference. And I started out by saying, 47,000 people die a year in the U.S. by suicide. That means I put a big countdown clock on the screen, started at 10 minutes, and hit my space bar, and it starts counting down. And I said that means at this moment in this country, some place has less than 10 minutes to live, which was a bit impactful. I had to not giggle, but when the young lady said, but the 100 days of summer are the most dangerous days, 84 people in the state of Idaho go down the highways, I'm thinking, by way of suicide, it's like one 737 going into the ground like a lawn dart every other day. Where's the big push? Where's OSHA on the subject of being able to spot people who have depression and thoughts of suicide? Because the guys at the convention said to me, Frank, as a supervisor, we are taught how to spot people who are intoxicated or high or, on the job. Why are we not taught how to spot people who are depressed and having thoughts of suicide? Why isn't there a big push given the number of people, especially males, who die by suicide? I said, that's why I'm here.
What do you say to people that say, Frank, it can't happen to them?
Oh, Lord. Pretty much everybody I meet after I've spoken and sort of opened the door to the discussion knows somebody, either in their family or a coworker or a friend. I had guys come up to me, big, burly, rough, tough, guys, and would look me in the eye. And the last guy I talked to could barely speak. He was so upset, tears rolling down his cheek in public because he'd lost a coworker for about 14 years a month before with no indication. That's, they always said, nobody knew. How would you know? Why didn't you reach out? So it's all a matter of starting the conversation. If you just, it's like people say, I don't know anybody who's got mental illness. Oh, yes, you do. They just haven't told you because we're very good at covering it up because don't want to burden other people with that, that kind of information.
Most people,
by the way,
when they think of suicide, I'm sorry, Frank, they think of little kids or teenagers, but that's not the case. It's everybody.
Well, actually, the teenage rate of major depressive disorder has been going up at a rather rapid rate since 2012, 2013, and there's a connection. I'm not sure it's a correlation. That's at the point at which more than 50% of the people in the U.S. owned a smartphone. If you track the smartphone ownership, depression, and teen suicide, the graph, all the lines basically go from the lower left-hand corner to the upper right-hand corner. So, but it is not. It's second leading cause of death among teenagers, but it's certainly not. Like I said, 8 out of 10 people who die by suicide in the U.S. are white males aged 45, 54. And people, part of it is people think all the jobs, manufacturing jobs, went to China, only 12 or 13%. 87, 88% went to AI and robots. So you got a guy who got out of high school, got a blue collar job, making union wages, middle class lifestyle, and then all of a sudden a robot takes his job. So he's 50s at loose ends. Men tend to tie their self-esteem to their job. So then you get the vicious cycle of drugs and drinking, and that's one of the reasons that the male suicide rate in that age group is so high, is that AI and robotics are taking a lot of the manufacturing jobs. The jobs are still here in the U.S. They're just done by a machine.
Well, and that is a concern. I mean, we grew up in an America where people worked and had a chance to better themselves, and now those jobs are being eliminated. You take a look at what needs to be done about that. I don't have the answers. You don't have the answers. But back to mental health, we have all these mass shootings going on. You got a guy in High Point, North Carolina, caught yesterday, going to kill everybody. He was going to kill everybody. Another mass shooting. You have to wonder what's the deal with mental health. Ronald Reagan closed those facilities many years ago, several lifetimes ago, and we've never had an answer to it. You talk to law enforcement, and they say that's the number one issue that could help them. By the way, Frank King, comedian, joining us. Kevin Miller here on KIDO Talk Radio. Frank, your thoughts? Well,
statistically speaking, only 5% of people involved in gun deaths are diagnosed mentally ill. And oftentimes there's only one victim in that scenario, and that is themselves. Only 2% diagnosed, and I emphasize diagnosed mentally ill, are involved in mass shootings. The rest of them are generally somebody who is, has anger issues and poor impulse control, and they go off and take a number of people with them. And I know you don't disagree on this, but all countries have mentally ill, and people with anger management issues and poor impulse control. Only the U.S. has an average of one mass shooting a day. That's one shooter, 4 victims or more. And part of it is the easy access to guns. 3 times as many women attempt suicide as men, but men tend to complete because they tend to use a firearm. So,
well, okay, let me hit you with this one. Again, and by the way, if you want to get a hold of Frank, maybe you want to tell him he's doing a good job and he's a nice liberal, or you want to book him for a gig. You do corporate stuff. How do we get a hold of you, Frank?
I am. If you go to The Mental Health Comedian, that's my brand. That's my website, The Mental Health Comedian.
All right, thementalhealthcomedian.com. So, do you believe that tighter restrictions on the guns would stop this?
I think universal background checks, close the gun show internet loophole. What I'm not particularly fond of, Kevin, is red flag laws. Where they take away your gun because you have a
right red flag laws. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Because it's a civil liberties thing for me. Suppose somebody in the Springfield Police Department has a beef with me, and they know that I've got 2 mental illnesses, that I've got depression and chronic suicidality. What's to stop them from going, well, we're going to get his gun? Because, see, I'm not, as I said many times, I'm not an anti-gun nut. I'm a nut, but I own two handguns. I carry one in the woods every day because we have 2 cougars that prowl the neighborhood where we walk our dogs. The red flag laws, that worries me as somebody who lives with mental illness. And, if you piss somebody off on the police department, they come get my 2 guns. So,
well,
it's a multifaceted problem. I think
it is.
It's kind of like the comparison I use is seatbelts. In '64, they added a seatbelt law, so that all the cars manufactured after '64 had to have seatbelts. But the auto manufacturers went crazy. That noise in my car, seatbelt. But between then and now, we have cut the automobile accident death rate in half, because it was just a start. Because then came the shoulder harness airbags, the crumple zones. So I think something like there's no one right solution. People go, well, that would not have stopped this incident. No, and there's no perfect solution. But start with universal background checks, then perhaps close the gun show internet loophole. And how about a big buyback program? They did that in Australia. Haven't had a mass shooting since 1996. I think they didn't ban them; they just bought them back.
They're worried about compulsory confiscation. I mean,
yeah.
do you trust the government, Frank, or do you trust your neighbor?
Well, I don't. I trust the government's not going to do the confiscation. I mean, even New Zealand, which banned assault weapons, they're not going around and knocking on people's doors and saying, "Give me your assault weapon." They just, it has to start somewhere with, and I think 90% of people in the U.S., Republicans and Democrats, believe that universal background checks is a good idea, but it's not going to pass the Senate because Mitch won't bring it to a vote.
Right.
So,
well, finally, you big fan of, let's see, what's his name? The guy, and I hate when I say this, Gallagher. You like Gallagher?
Oh man, for a number of reasons, yes.
Let me hit you with this one. Gallagher was in Idaho, and apparently he brought his 2 hammers into the Idaho State House and was escorted out of the State House. He's 73. He's in Boise scouting locations to film, I guess, about flipping houses, or he's going to build retirement homes or something of that nature. So at 73, that guy's still going.
Oh, yeah. And they took him out because he had the hammer?
Yeah, he had 2 hammers with him.
Yeah. It's like they took a pocket knife off some older gentleman, must have been in his 90s, in front of me at the airport. I'm like, dude, if that guy at 90 can take that plane over with a pocket knife, let's let him have it. He must have that certain set of skills that Liam Neeson has in the old movies. I mean, it gets to the point of they check they had to make the pilots walk through the TSA security. I'm like, if the pilot wants the plane to go down, he doesn't need a knife or a gun. He has the stick. All he has to do is just down like a lawn dart. So yeah, it gets to the point of absurdity. It's some
well,
at some point it becomes absurd.
Certainly, you're not absurd. One more time with the name of your website, my friend.
It's The Mental Health Comedian, and if somebody's somebody's suicidal, call the Suicidal Prevention Lifeline. Kevin, if they're just having a bad day, go to my website, call me a crazy person. I'm not going to judge. I'm just going to listen.
Well, that sounds like what we should do after the show. We could just call you for a good time.
Yes, and let's do that political thing, raise some money, maybe NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness. I'm sure there's a chapter in Boise, and everything they provide to the citizenry is free, so they need the money.
No, I'm serious about that. I've been thinking about that for a while, so let me work on that, and definitely we'll be in touch. Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. Take care.
See ya.
Our great friend Frank King joining us with some relevant and valuable information about suicide. And if you are contemplating suicide, if you are worried about your mental health or the mental health of a friend or family member, we'll give you the suicide prevention hotline in a minute. Coming up next, Brad Little goes on Fox News. And remember, when you hear Fox News on the radio, you're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And don't forget Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic going on now. And don't forget, a week from Friday, we will be at Independence Indoor Shooting Girls with Guns 2019. Lots of votes going on. We want your girl to win the grand prize, a rifle, or perhaps a gun safe, or even better, a year-long membership to Independence Indoor Shooting in Meridian, Idaho. You're going to really want to check that out as we, again, bring you Girls with Guns 2019. More details on how you can vote on our website. And speaking of other things going on, we have the governor of the state of Idaho appearing on the Laura Ingraham show. He was there talking about, well, this issue involving the transgender and whether or not the state of Idaho is going to be paying for the transgender surgery. Let's take a listen.
We're hopeful that justice will prevail and the taxpayers in Idaho and other states won't be forced to pay for what we see as a procedure that our healthcare professionals say is not necessary.
There you have it. By the way, the Fifth Circuit, which takes care of Texas and everything else, says that it's not a violation to not perform the transgender surgery. It's not a violation of the Eighth Amendment and the Bill of Rights. So let's hear more from Governor Little with Laura Ingraham on KIDO Talk Radio.
Well, there have been two other courts that have ruled opposite, and we appealed this to the Ninth Circuit, and we're going to appeal it again. We just heartily disagree. It's a bad precedent. It's going to be expensive, and it's contrary to the health professionals that we've had reviewing inmate Edmo's record, all the things about the inmate, and it's just contrary to good practices, and it's another example of activist court.
There you have it, the governor with our own Laura Ingraham. Your reaction next. First, traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave. Kevin Miller in the morning. Your calls next about the inmate, the surgery, and transgenderification. Boy, all that before 7 a.m. That's a plate full. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. And don't forget the Idaho Suicide Prevention Hotline, 208-398-4357. That's 208-398-4357. We want to save as many lives as possible, not just in September when I guess they call it, the Suicide Awareness Month or whatever, but for many, many years. We want you around again and again and again to take care of us. We need you. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. If you're just waking up, we want to tell you the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic going on. It's very exciting at Ann Morrison Park right now. We look forward to being a part of that. Of course, the Night Glow, it's all free, brought to you by our friends at CapEd Credit Union. And don't forget, coming up, we'll be back on the road. Really looking forward to being back on the road. And we'll be at Independence Indoor Shooting in Meridian, Idaho, coming up a week from Friday. Joining us now, Tom Munns, TomMunns.com. Good morning, Tom Munns.
Morning, Kevin. This issue is a little bit, I'm a little bit sensitive to this issue because it's so blatantly wrong on so many levels. If you actually did a pro versus con type of environment, the only positive thing would be that this guy would be able to feel better about himself. So let us all bless our prisoners after they rob us and do the things that they do. This is constitutionally wrong. Although I commend the Brad for standing up and taking a stand on this, I'm afraid that it's going to be, some of his verbiage is a little bit concerning to me when he says, we hope that we're not forced. The governor of the state is never forced to do anything by the federal government, especially when it's outside of the Constitution. The problem is he just needs to know it. And the other part of that is he needs a contingency that will actually back him up and support him this way. Or I wonder if it's going to be another political, political move like Otter did when he stood up against gay marriage on a lawfully instituted constitutional amendment where he caved to the federal government. I need everybody to listen to me about this and to be able to tell me where I'm wrong, because the federal government does not have the authority to be able to tell the states what to do on anything outside of the Constitution. And any governor, I know I would, if I stood against anything like that, I would nullify the hell out of it. Transgenderism is not in our Constitution. It is a moral issue. It's become a political and social issue, and our Constitution was never intended to be used for social or light and transient causes, and I say light and transgender causes. But this is so wrong on so many levels. The other part of this is this guy, he's not even a lawful citizen. He breaks the law, and now all of a sudden he wants to be able to tell the taxpayers, well, I know I did break the law and stuff, and I incurred a lot of taxpayer expense through my court, but now I want you to be able to give me a transgender surgery. Man, I would lead the charge against this thing in a hot second if I knew that people would back me up. This is absolutely unlawful. Our tax dollars are completely misappropriated to every darn thing that we do. They hold our homes in hostage so that they can appropriate money to places that brainwash our children, and now they want to be able to use it for socialist programs, and now we want to bless criminals for immoral and possibly psychiatric problems. I mean, didn't the AMA for the last 50 or 60 years call this transgenderism garbage a mental illness? And now what? Political now political activism from the grassroots right wing is now taking its place? I mean, exactly what kind of country do we live in when we when we are masters over our servants, and we cower like servants to the master? Brad ought to stand up, and he ought to be able to take this thing as far as he can, because you know what? There's no lawful enforcement mechanism for the federal government to be able to enforce anything they want to do unless it pulls Idaho's money. And I got to tell you something. If he actually does this, it's going to prove whether Idaho is solvent or not, and whether it's dependent on the federal government for money or not. And so it would be a great and telling sign to be able to see how this comes out, because it's going to tell everybody exactly what kind of leadership we have in our state. So I just appreciate that and wanted to share those comments with you.
We appreciate you, Tom Muntz. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. If you're just tuning in, a couple of the top stories we are talking about: the president and the administration changes citizenship requirements for children of service members and the government overseas. So if you are living overseas from now on and you have a child that is born overseas to members of the U.S. military, will no longer be granted automatic citizenship. That's according to a new policy announced yesterday by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service. In accordance with the new revised set of rules, parents of children born in foreign countries will have to apply for their children's citizenship on their behalf. Prior to the change, children born overseas to U.S. residents were officially recorded as residing in the United States. That goes into effect October 29th of this year. Other top stories that we are following here on KIDO Talk Radio. Obviously, the situation involving the governor and the transgendered prisoner. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll take more of your phone calls at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kirsten Gillibrand drops out of the 2020 Democratic presidential race. She didn't make the vaunted third debate, so she decided to peace out. The president saying, ha-ha! She was the one he feared the most. He doesn't have to worry about her anymore. She has decided to go back to being a senator. She is looking to endorse someone. We don't know who that is. When we do, we'll hear it first. Obviously, as you heard Maggie O'Mara talking about this big story about the hurricane, which brings me to my next point that we'll get to in a couple minutes. You know, everybody's worried about Hurricane Dorian, about the Boise State game. And I think if you asked out of 10 people, maybe 4 people are legitimately concerned. But because the media continues to feed this story, I mean, in the Treasure Valley, there are almost 1 million people? Over 1 million people from Ontario to Mountain Home. How many people really are worried about the football game? Yes, it's a welcome distraction. We all love football. We all cheer on the Broncos unless you're a Vandal fan or what have you. And look, we are an open tent to everybody at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. But the way the media is plugging this hurricane story, it's not really news. To me, it's more propaganda, and I'll explain that to you in a minute.
If you plan on traveling to the coast or to Florida for this long weekend, please keep a very close eye on the weather.
I'm urging all Georgians in the potentially affected area to take action to start not only protecting themselves, but also take care of their valuables.
We are already weighing considerations on how to potentially handle evacuation scenarios, including evacuations out of Florida into Georgia inland from Georgia's coast.
Our message to the folks who've just been...
So there we have it, because we have maybe 1,000, 2,000 people that have enough disposable income to go to the game. And again, we're not backing or bashing anybody. It's just an objective look at the media that focuses in on the court gestures, the entertainment, instead of the real news. And look, we're very happy to talk about the real news. Brad Little doing the right thing about fighting this transgendered liberal wacko Ninth Circuit decision. Idaho joining the federal fight concerning LGBTQ rights or non-rights in the workplace. We'll gladly own those issues. Everyone else talking about the hurricane. To me, it's almost as if people are working in cahoots, not reporting the real issues that impact our lives. Look, having to spend thousands of dollars in taxpayer money to the state of Idaho, for the state of Idaho to give somebody a surgery that is elective is much more imperative than, and again, we'll keep the people in Florida in our thoughts and prayers, but it's all about a football game, right? And I find myself going, gee, I wonder about the hurricane. Gee, every radio station, every TV station, that's what it's about. And you're thinking, it doesn't really impact my life. Heck, I got to work on Saturday. A lot of people have to work on Saturday. But the way they selectively target this, and again, maybe it's because we've done so much work with our friends at Newsbusters, newsbusters.org, that we're starting to see how it happens here locally, where we're going to create this story and we're going to shove it again and again and again until people are so focused on the hurricane. How many people do you know are worried about this hurricane in the football game, when in reality, it's a great form of entertainment? Does it really impact our lives? I'm tired of the weather forecast of what's going on in Florida. Are you? Pete in Mountain Home, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Pete.
The media was deeply disappointed in the last tropical storm that didn't turn into a major hurricane because, that's big news for them. But the gender reassignment business, I remember hearing just the other day that one of the federal agencies that I think it's EEOC, one of those that determines Title IX, you cannot discriminate based on race, religion, sex, whatever. That they said there's two sexes, male and female, X, 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 Y, and that is not something that you get to choose. And so basically what they're saying is the add the words movement that was going on here, that if you cannot discriminate based on a person's sex, but that isn't something where you get to choose your sex. Well, it would be like, okay, I've decided now that I'm a black female, so you can't discriminate against me. Well, I don't get to make that decision. Your sex is determined at birth. You're either XX or XY, sorry. And
no, they say that you're an X now, or you can choose, or sometimes you can be a man and sometimes you can be a woman.
Yeah, well, it's like that woman up there in Spokane that decided she was a black woman and was running the NAACP until they found out she had, blonde hair, blue eyes, and
yeah, right.
and they kicked her out. They shouldn't be able to do that. If she wants to be a black woman, who says she can't be one?
Well, if I were a member of Congress, I would like to join the Congressional Black Caucus.
Yeah, exactly, and that's or the is there a Congressional Female Caucus or Women's Caucus?
I don't know.
But yeah, it's
some days, you go, man, I feel like a woman.
Well, we can change reality just by saying we can. Didn't that used to be the definition of insanity, or one of them?
Well, what they're saying. Sometimes I feel like a nut, sometimes you don't.
Yeah. I don't know. There are times when you just have to laugh at this stuff. It's sad in many ways, but it is also, good Lord, or why are we doing this to ourselves?
That's a good point. Pete, thank you for the call.
Thank you, Kev.
All right. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We're joined by our great friend, Ron Grant, the original Safer Money specialist. He's ready to go. Big event coming up Saturday, 2 to 3. We're giving away tickets. Ron, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are we doing today?
It's a little early, but you're always hitting the ground trying to figure out how to make sure that people keep their money safe.
Yep. And Saturday, we got a really good topic. It's going to be how to retire like a millionaire without having to have $1 million. So make sure you tune in on Saturday from 2 to 3. And then I'm going to give away a pair of tickets on Saturday, so make sure you tune in. Kevin will let you know when to call in. We're going to be giving some tickets away to the Meridian Speedway. I went out there a few weeks ago. We had a great car show, and it was awesome. We had a fun time. So I got a pair of tickets for you for Saturday, so make sure you are listening.
Well, and that's important. You'd like to hear from people.
Of course. People are great. We like to go to the car shows, like to meet people, and it's always nice. I'm having a blast up here in the Treasure Valley. I tell you, I can't tell you how much fun I'm having. It's a great area.
Well, you're a great guy. So with the volatility going on, how do you keep your money safe?
Well, back in 08 and 09, when the market tanked almost 50%, my clients and I, we got zeros. And a zero is always better than a loss. We can't lose our principal. We lock our gains in from year to year. I can show you how to have a reasonable range of return, and I can also show you how to have a guaranteed lifetime income that you can't outlive. If you're over 50, Kevin, you shouldn't be chasing returns. You should be worried about getting an income that you can live on. Otherwise, you may have to move in with your kids. I don't know how that works, but yeah, we keep it safe. I have 3 of these accounts for myself, and I make sure that my clients and I are safe and protected.
Well, and you can find out more information Saturday 2 to 3. Ron will be taking your calls, or call him now. Check out his web. How do we do that?
Website is safermoneyspecialist.com, and phone number is 208-660-1372.
Ron Grant, we can't wait to hear you Saturday 2 to 3, brother.
But I can't wait either. You guys have a wonderful day.
You too. That's our great friend Ron Grant joining us. Kevin Miller on your home for Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio. And rolling right along on the right side, Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Terry in Emmett. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, Kevin. Haven't spoken to you for quite a while, but the subject of the sex offender that wants to be changed into his transgender self brings up an interesting idea. It wasn't too many years ago that everybody was up in arms because the idea of a sex offender being castrated was something that was mutilation and a real undesirable situation. So I think maybe Governor Little could kind of promote tying this deal up in court by saying, no problem, we'll offer the guy what he wants. We'll give him the free castration. And in fact, why don't we just go ahead and do an executive order and say that all sex offenders need to be castrated, and see how quickly that gets tied up into court.
Well, see how quickly we don't have many sex offenders anymore.
Yeah, I think it would change the opinion of an awful lot of people in jail. They're saying that one of the concerns is that if we grant this and do a sex change operation for this one individual, that we're going to have a parade of people that want to have transgender reassignment, and they're going to go to prison so they can get it for free. Well, if all we offer them is castration, that might be a deterrent rather than a inclination to go perform a sex act.
Terry, thank you for the call. Traffic and weather together. Kevin Miller in the morning. Good morning, Dave. Kevin Miller on your home for Fox News. We're just getting started on the right side. Stay with us.